Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wine and Wisdom with Lauren and Tara.
It never stops being lame.
I know. Can you move over just a tiny bit, just in case?
Okay.
So, welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
I have my new wine sweater on. You can sit with us, and I bought 5, so you guys will see a variety of wine sweaters coming up. Be excited.
I'm behind. I only have one.
I know. Come on, keep up.
Damn it. Okay, so we're going to talk today about manifesting our dream businesses. And I mean, this is really how Tara and I connected, because we have very similar businesses and we were Instagram besties at first. Because we really
bestie, she means I stalked her.
And then married my best friend.
Yeah.
That's fine. It all worked out.
Yeah.
Because now I have an office. Thanks, Trev. He's in the background there. Anyways, so yeah, let's.
And we also came from completely different backgrounds, like fitness, gym, and then lash and beauty, and then built our online businesses.
Actually, a teacher, so
right.
There's quite a few transitions. So we want to talk about how we manifested, moving our sort of brick and mortar businesses / careers into something online that provides freedom, that provides, I just have so much fun with what I do.
I mean,
I think, well, yeah, I know. I think that that's such a big part. We make really great money. Tara's just had her biggest month. Hurrah. And also it's just so much, every day I'm I can't believe I get to do this. And make all this money for it. I literally did this for free when I was getting started because I loved it. And I'm glad that I don't have to do it for free anymore, but I still would. I'm still that obsessed with it.
I feel like that's the key to creating your dream career. Okay.
Yeah.
We dive in.
I just spilled wine all over myself.
First ever Wine and Wisdom unboxing. So, rosé mix.
Charged us $50 for this. I thought Lauren's a lightweight, so she'll be drunk for sure. If we do it, what are you laughing at?
Look at your feet. Why do they look like that? It's a Niagara wine. It's not that fancy. Yeah. We're getting better, kind of, not really. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to tell your whole story first?
Sure. Yes. So can I
just say, I feel like my hair looks really good today.
It looks really good.
It's just so effortlessly. Okay, we can move on now.
Jealous. I was just saying to Lauren how pale I feel, and I was like, why is your lighting so good? My dark hair. Anyway, okay. It is also fall now, so I guess I can be pale. So I started out, I actually wanted to be an elementary school teacher, and I did one year of it, and then I went and volunteered in a grade 4 classroom, and then I was like, no, I will never be back here. This is horrible. And I was like, I don't want to take care of other people's kids. So then I wanted to be a dietitian. I did a year of that, but it was really hard math, and I'm not good at math. So then I finally realized, after all this time, which is a really big theme of following what makes me the happiest always. So I started reading Gabby Bernstein's book, 40 Days of Miracles, I think. And she talked about when are the moments that you are happiest? And it was such a mind-blowing realization for me. And I just realized I had been teaching spin, and I worked a little bit at a gym, but I was also waitressing on the side. Waitressing was my full-time thing. Ugh. And I was like, oh my God, I'm happiest after I teach a spin class or in the middle of a spin class, and just when I'm up there in front of people and doing something that I love, and I'm so energized. So I came home and I told my parents I was dropping out of school to be a personal trainer. You can imagine their reactions were are you sure this is a good idea? And it's so interesting because my mom from the get-go was she doesn't really like to take risks. So fair enough. My dad's an entrepreneur, so he got it, but she was you're never going to make any money as a personal trainer, and you're never going to have a real schedule. So at that point, I just became so determined to prove her wrong. And that was the driver of my success. So I decided my dream was to own my own personal training studio. And it happened fairly quickly. I read the book, The Secret, and I got really into manifestation. I made a vision board, and I just decided to go for it. I started training people out of my bedroom, and then that quickly grew to like at the park, and then eventually a space. And I mean, it's not really the point of that video. Lots of things went wrong along the way, but I ended up like having my dream space in the end, and I did that for 3 years. And then nearing the end of the 3rd year of my lease of the gym, I just really was feeling so burnt out, and I was there like 14 hours a day. I would get there at like 4 in the morning, and I would be there all day long, and I would be cleaning it and planning all the classes and teaching all the classes and trying to like practice teaching like pound and all these different things. And I was just so exhausted and so burnt out. Plus I had like an online like workout video. So I was filming workout videos every day, and it just like was not in alignment with my projector lifestyle, where I really like to work like 2 to 3 hours a day and take naps. So I ended up deciding to like head in another direction, and I realized like manifestation was just my passion. I was so fascinated with it. So January last year, I decided to create my first online course, and this was like kind of created in an effort because I really wanted to go to Bali for the Manifestation Babe retreat, and it ended up just being like this amazing success, and really just made me realize how incredible like the online space is, and how much like easier it is to just, you don't have to work harder, you just need to work smarter basically. And like I love creating content, I loved writing Instagram posts, and so I started a podcast, and I just kind of slowly grew from there. And my when did I kind of take the leap? So I started doing online courses, Manifest Mondays and Manifesting Dream Body. And then nearing the end of Christmas, it was like my lease was going to be up soon. And I just decided to just go for it and go online and see what happened. And it all worked out magically. I went to Toronto to surprise Lauren, met my future husband, and like, thank God I didn't have the gym, because then COVID happened and that would have been really bad.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I just got really intentional about like, what did I want in my life? Because I did hire a coach I went to Tony Robbins 2 years ago, Unleash the Power Within, and I hired a coach for like $8,000 that I did not have, and it was super scary. And I had her for a year, and I just remember she asked me one day, like, what's your dream day look like? And I just like burst into tears, because I was so far away from my dream day, and like I thought that owning the gym was my dream, but I realized like I was feeling so stuck, and like I was like, this cannot be my life for the rest of my life. Like this, I was feeling like so claustrophobic. And I set the intention that I wanted like mornings to myself. And I started really small, and that slowly manifested by like hiring another trainer. And then from there, I was like, no, I want more free time. I want to have a podcast. I want to create courses. So I just started leaving more and more space in my schedule. I decided to quit personal training when I totally wasn't ready to quit. Like that was the bulk of my income. And that's a common theme of my life, is I always do things before I'm ready, and Lauren as well. And and that's a huge tip that I could give to anybody, is like, in order for the things to come through, it can be like, if you're up for it, like creating the space for it to come through is really huge. Like, I don't think I would have had the ideas and the opportunities if I was still personal training all day long. So there's no chance for me to even like get into that mindset. So yeah, now I just do like, I have my membership that I created over COVID, and me and Lauren obviously have Mind Magic, and I do like a little bit of coaching on the side, but mainly I'm literally living my dream of just like creating content and putting stuff out there and podcasting, and it's amazing.
Can you go back a little bit to when you started your personal training business, because you started seeing clients like in your bedroom and then in a carport? Yeah. What would you say about your mindset at that time? Because I'm sure a lot of people watching this are, you know, their main desire at this point is getting clients for their business.
Yeah, I just had so much belief in myself. Like from the minute I decided, I was like, I know that I can be the best. And I knew that like people would want to work with me. And I knew it also, I had like a bit of confidence, because at the gym that I worked at Panorama, I was like one of the more popular people, and I got lots of like really good feedback, which wasn't the case when I first started. But I just, yeah, from the very beginning, I made that vision board, and I had this vision of the gym on my wall, and even when I was training people out of my bedroom, it was like, that was one of the proudest moments of my life was not even having like the real beautiful studio. It was like having my carport gym, which like I made it into a carport. I put some flooring down and people would come for boot camps and I would like just sit out there and just be like, this was my dream. Like I was just so proud of myself. But yeah, I just knew the entire time that I was walking, no matter what, like I was working towards this like studio. And I feel the same about this business. Like, we obviously go through periods of doubt, but I just like know in my mind that I'm going towards like a really high level manifestation teacher, like thousands and thousands of people, like millionaire. And it's just like, I know this is just the journey towards it.
Yeah, I was hoping that. So basically what you're saying there is conviction, right? Which is a decision that you can make. And you don't have to be in complete belief all the time. Obviously, belief is something that comes. Confidence is something that comes through competence, and competence comes through taking action. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, I want to encourage people, if you're a business owner, to go all the way in and to be unavailable for anything less than the outcome that you want and the financial reality that you want. Because I just see so much, and I'm a business coach, I just see a lot of like, you know, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, I hope that this works, but if it doesn't, then whatever, I'll keep working this job that I hate. You cannot be 50% in. You can't even be 75% in. You have to be all the way in. And that's a decision that you can make right now. And that's actually like kind of leads me into my story, which is that I was a teacher. I went to school for visual arts and then for teaching. And after university, I moved to Australia. I taught special ed for like 2.5 years. I moved home and I got a part-time job as an art teacher at a private high school, or a private school rather, here in Toronto. And it was only 2 days a week, and I didn't want to find another part-time job. And I also I was feeling drawn towards entrepreneurship, even though at the time I didn't know about manifestation. I thought that like to be a business owner, you needed to go to business school. Yeah. And I didn't know, like my sister actually was like the business head of the family, and she went to like the most renowned business school in Canada. And oh, wow. Yeah. And so like I was like the art kid, you know? So I had a lot of like beliefs in that regard working against me. But I had a friend who had a successful lash business. And because my background is in visual arts, I always kind of like, I really love like fine detail work. Like I love it. And I always just thought like I would be good at that. And I also believed in like my communication and my reliability and my capacity to run a successful business and be desired by clients. So I started a lash business in Toronto, and I didn't know anyone. I was brand new to Toronto. I just moved into an apartment that I couldn't afford. I had no history.
That we like to do to ourselves.
Well, exactly. But that's when you cut the legs out of any possibility other than, you know, it being your business being successful, it is successful, and it's terrifying. But it's like you have to move full time into the reality that you want in order for it to manifest. Maybe not full time, but I'd say like 80% of the time, you know? Yeah. So in me being like, I'm moving to Toronto, I'm starting this business, and there's literally no wiggle room for it not to be successful right off the bat because I have to pay my next month's rent. Like it was that level of like decision, commitment, conviction. It's not to say that it wasn't scary, but it was like, I guess the worst case scenario is that this doesn't work and I have to move back home, or I have to take out a loan or something like that, you know, to pay my rent. Like, and that I would have survived, you know? So it's scary, but like, obviously when you take a leap of faith and you mostly trust that the net will appear 100% of the time, that it does.
It always does.
It always does. So, so I started a lash business, and it was just like a side hustle initially, because I was like, I'm getting a full-time teaching job. I'm a teacher. I'm going to do the responsible thing and have a 40-year career. But the more that I worked for myself and my business grew really quickly, and it was what Tara's talking about like I had belief in myself and I had conviction over like, this is going to work. The more that I grew that business, the more I was like, I love working from home. Like I loved working from home on the days that I wasn't teaching way more than the days that I was going into school. And it's not that I didn't like my job. I loved my students and I loved what I was teaching, but I just knew that I wanted more possibility than that. Like, I think I was always an entrepreneur at heart, but I just didn't really know that. I'd always like sold paintings, and I did like random, like crafty things for money. Nothing illegal. Like all throughout like my childhood and stuff, I would like sell pumpkins that I had that I'd grown all summer long and stuff like that. So I'd always had this mindset of like, I can make money when I want to make money, or like there's other things that I can do for money. Anyways, so then I got into manifestation. I was about 1.5 years into my lash business. I was still working at the school, and I had this like spiritual awakening over the course of just a couple of days. I've been doing a lot of personal development work, and all of a sudden, what?
I thought you were going to say drugs. I've been doing a lot.
No drugs. Those came later. Just kidding. Okay, so so I had this like spiritual awakening where all of a sudden all the manifestation stuff just clicked into place for me. And I had known about it, and like my friend Zoe had been really, really into it for a long time and talking about it, but it never really clicked for me until that time. And so I just dove like headfirst into it. I knew immediately I'm supposed to teach people this. It was just like such a conviction. Right. You're cutting out of the frame there.
Sorry.
Anyways, your cat? No, can't be. So that was like in January of 2017, I think. And by like April, I knew that I was going to leave my teaching job in order to start a business in which I was able to teach people. And I also knew like, now I understood that I could manifest, however much money I wanted. I could manifest anything that I like. All of a sudden I had access to what I wanted, when before I was like, but I didn't go to business school. And if you don't go to business school, you can't start a successful business. Once I got the manifestation side of things, it was like, oh, you can have whatever you want. So one thing that's interesting about my story is that I left my teaching career, which at that point, including school, had like 12 years invested into it. I was still super in debt from it. But I left my teaching career because I was and I didn't even know. So the like interesting part is that I didn't actually know what my online business was going to look like. I just knew I didn't want to be a life coach. I didn't really know about business coaches at the time, but I was like, I want to create content. I want to make $1 million or millions of dollars. I want to have time and financial freedom, and I'm going to leap into that and trust again that the net will appear. So I left teaching. I immediately hired my first business coach, and I literally said to her, I don't know what it is that I'm doing at this time or what my business is going to look like. I just trust that I'm about to figure it out.
So were you doing lashes when you quit teaching?
Yes.
You had like an income. Yeah.
Exactly. So I went full time into doing lashes, and like that supported me in the meantime. But I also like took big financial, risks where I hired multiple coaches and signed up for people's courses. I put it all on credit cards. I really freaked myself out for a while in terms of like the money I was spending to get my business started without anything coming in. And I don't tell people that that's necessary or anything like that, but I do think that it really motivated me to like, when it was hard, I kept going because I had no other choice. I was like, the only way I'm going to be able to pay off this money is to have a business that can make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month.
Yeah.
Right. So I think like, honestly, it lit a fire under my ass. So I figured out pretty quickly, like I want to teach manifestation to business owners. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And then I started, my breakthrough program was for lash artists, where I taught them mindset and marketing principles. And that was a really successful course idea. I grew a Facebook group that really exploded, full of like thousands of people. Then I started from there because I had success teaching, lash artists. At that point, I started teaching or creating programs for online entrepreneurs that also wanted to use their skills and turn them into a course or program or whatever. And then the rest is kind of history. Now I'm actually in the process right now of letting go of the whole lash side of my business, which has been very profitable for me. But I just want to speak to mindset, manifestation, and like online entrepreneurship exclusively. Like that's just what I feel so called towards. And I think like when it comes to manifesting my dream business, it's the leaps of faith, it's the conviction, and what really has helped me is like going to work on my confidence and my self-talk and really doing the work to see myself as a successful entrepreneur. Because for a long time I didn't. I questioned myself. I didn't know if my services were worth it for people. And I really had to like basically become my own biggest cheerleader and really believe in myself and my value. And then that started being reflected back to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's everything. I was just going to say a little difference between like me and you in terms of entrepreneurship is like, you said you kind of always like felt into being an entrepreneur, whereas I never, that was like my worst nightmare. Like I wanted like security and safety, and I just wanted like certainty and routine. And like, I kind of fell into the entrepreneurship, but then it turned out to be like the greatest thing in the world, because then you can make it whatever you want and like create your own.
I did. Okay. Literally when I started building a business, people would be like, oh, you're an entrepreneur. My association with that word was like single men that were 35 that lived in their parents' basements. Like that's what I thought of. Yeah. Like, because I had a couple like kind of guy friends who considered themselves entrepreneurs, but made no money and relied on their parents for everything. Like that was literally what I thought an entrepreneur was. Like the stigma around it. So I actually like distanced myself from that word for a long time, because I thought that it meant that you didn't make any money and that you were just kind of like bumming around and pretending that you were doing something when really you weren't.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I know it means something very, very different. But when I say I was always like entrepreneur minded, it just means I loved to create things. And sometimes those things that I created, I offered to people for money and they bought them. And that was like so thrill to me. But which obviously is entrepreneurship, but I literally had no relationship with that word other than the negative one until I was like 28.
Yeah. Yeah. I never even considered myself an entrepreneur until recently, because I thought of entrepreneurship as like, you have to own like a super successful company. And even when I like owned my own gym and like made 6 figures, I didn't like consider myself a successful entrepreneur, which is so weird. Like we make up all these weird things in our head. And I just recently wrote a post on this. I'm like, I guess I can call myself an entrepreneur. Like I've been supporting myself for like 7 years now. So
you are an entrepreneur, definitely.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a video for next week where we talk about gaining clarity. If you're knowing that you want to build a life of freedom for yourself and you want to do it through building a business, and you might not actually know what the right next step is, or like I talk to people all the time who say like, I know that I want more freedom and more like potential for making money, but I have no idea what I want the business to look like or what the right next step is. We're going to talk about that. But what would you say are sort of like your top 3 tips for people that are wanting to manifest a very successful business for themselves?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when you said that, it did bring up how differently we started our businesses, because it's like you went into, I want to like kind of be an entrepreneur and do my own thing, and like you didn't quite know what it was going to look like yet, whereas I never really wanted to be an entrepreneur, but then I felt like I just fell into it because I knew I wanted to be like I knew I've always known exactly what I wanted to be doing. So we have like totally different like perspectives from that, which I think is interesting, because we also still ended up in the same spot. My top 3 things would be, I mean, if you know what you want, it's like getting super clear on that vision and walking towards it every single day, and the tiniest steps that you can take, whatever that is. Like my first step was like make a Facebook page, and that was really scary. And then it was like make a post, and then it truly is just like showing up every single day from the energy of like, I have never been starting out. Like I have seen myself from the perspective of like, I'm a successful gym owner when I like started my page, kind of like, I kind of just knew that was where I was headed, and that was like how I showed up, which I think is why I was successful. And I feel the same with manifestation. Like I don't feel like I'm a new online entrepreneur, even though it has been only 6 months.
Yeah.
But I just see myself like I'm already a millionaire manifestation teacher, and that's where I'm going. And that's kind of how you show up. So I think if you can just get so clear, what is the ultimate goal? How can you be that every single day? And the steps and the opportunities are going to come to you. And don't be afraid to take massive leaps and take risks, because every risk I've ever taken was the biggest game changer for me. Like coaches, bigger places, spending money on things that I couldn't afford, like buying a gym, like all those things were the biggest shifts. I think I should get my Range Rover.
Well, yeah, no. So like, this is something I've really realized the last couple of months is like, I've kind of stagnated. And I mean, me stagnating is like $15,000 a month.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, but that's like, so it's not a problem, but that's almost like, it's so comfortable that I'm not moving forward. And which also would not be a problem, except that I really love growth and I love like expansion and I love reaching new goals and the things that I learn about myself and the things that I have to transform in order to grow. Like, that's what's just like Tara was talking about some of her big breakthroughs today. And like, those breakthroughs only came to you because you set a bigger goal for yourself that scared you, and you had to bring to light the things that were holding you back.
Yeah.
Right? So
100%. Yeah.
the last couple of months, I'm like, I'm not growing because I'm not taking enough risk. I'm not uncomfortable. Like, until I'm uncomfortable, I don't grow. Until I don't give myself the option of not, growing into. So for me, like, I'm awaiting impatiently the arrival of my new car, which is like, I said, my mom the other day was like, so is it going to be like a lot a month? And I'm like, what's a lot? She's like, I don't know, like $600. I'm like, it's a lot. More than that. She's like, oh God, you just keep me up at night. It's more than that.
How much is it? 800? Can we say it on YouTube? Tell me later.
It's like closer to 900, but then I also like had to pay for higher insurance and a parking spot, and it'll definitely be more gas. So it's probably like an additional $1,100 a month. No, more than that, $1,200 a month expense. Anyways, but even that doesn't feel scary to me because I just know that like I spent $1,200. Yeah. But so that's where I'm like that felt scary to me 3 months ago when I freaking bought the thing and now I'm waiting for it. Now I know that the next thing that I need to step into is like hiring someone full time and like a much bigger financial investment. Because that's where, like, honestly, $1,200 a month, I've done that enough times where I up-leveled my expenses and my things that I was paying for in my business and seeing how the money does show up.
Yeah.
It does. I'm like, I just know that it will. But if I'm going to hire someone for thousands of dollars a month, that requires me to build my faith, to look at what's in the way of me really believing that it's possible or that, and so I'm just realizing like, that's where the growth is continuing to take leaps of faith.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, like, think of something that is a little bit drastic maybe and scary to you, and like, can you just go for it?
And that might be at this point $200 a month on something. Like, it doesn't have to be something crazy.
Like being a Facebook group or even putting it out there that you want to start your own business or whatever it is. Like, it doesn't need to be like, I know a lot of people that are starting businesses, they're really afraid of their friends and family, which is so ironic. What their friends and family think about them and them reading their posts. And like, those are the people that should be supporting you the most.
It's often the people that support you the least though, because it's like, I mean, okay, my thing about this is that when people have an issue with you or an opinion about you starting a business, it's because in you deciding that you want to build a life you love, they are suddenly confronted with the fact that they're not allowing themselves to do the same. Right?
Yeah.
Like, they're like, well, everybody's unhappy, so it's okay that I am, because they're like, the idea of going after something is scary. And then you come along and you're like, I'm actually going to be happy and build something and take action outside of what most people deem to be appropriate or reasonable. And they're like, oh, well, that's not a good idea. It's because you're threatening their, self-imposed limitations, and they don't like you for it.
We should actually do an episode on that, because like, that's been coming up for me a lot, and a lot of my clients, and like, it's not easy to go against the grain.
No,
but it's worth it.
All right. So our next episode will be, we're going to be calling it Tipsy Tuesday. So every other week there'll be a tip episode rather than like a manifestation story. But yeah, we're going to give some tips like that and just talk about more general manifestation and mindset and self-development topics. So we'll see you then.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.